Hi everybody, this is Sarah with Snugglebug Stitching. Today I'm going to show you a little video about a quilt piecing technique where you use snowballs. So here's a little sample piece I've already made up. You see we've got a big piece of fabric and some triangles on the ends. But with this technique, I didn't cut out any tiny triangles. I didn't have to sew any uncooperative bias seams together. I didn't have to try to figure seam allowance, as little math as possible. So I'm going to show you how to do this, how to make this little piece right now. So I've got a piece of fabric and I've already got a few sewed on there, and I'm going to show you how to do these snowballs. So basically what we're doing, we're going to put these little squares face down in the corners of this orange fabric, and we're going to sew from side to side on the diagonal. And so that when you open them up, it'll look like that. So I'm going to show you a few ways you can do that. One thing you could do is you could get a marking and your ruler, and you'll line your ruler up corner to corner and draw yourself a little line. Now when you draw this line, I recommend you either use a marking that you are 100% sure it will completely wash out, something you've used before, or mark really lightly, because you're going to sew directly onto that line, so it's not necessarily going to be hidden in seam allowance like you usually would with your lines. So you could do that, and another way you could do this is you could fold your little square in half diagonally, and it doesn't matter whether you fold it in half going with your pretty sides out or your back sides of your fabric out, because really all you're wanting is a line to follow. So once you have that folded in half, kind of crease that with your fingers. Now be careful you're not trying to stretch that, because you don't want to distort the shape, but just kind of crease that with your fingers. And then line that crease line up from side to side. You can take that to your sewing machine and use that as what you're going to sew on. So it doesn't really matter which way you fold it. You'll be able to see the crease line either way. And then you'll take that to your sewing machine and you'll sew right along this line you drew, or right along this little crease line that you drew. When I sew these, I like to use this little open toe foot. Some people call it an applique foot. That's going to make it to where you have really good visibility of your line as you feed that through your sewing machine. Okay, so once you have that sewed on there, you can peel these sides back, and it's going to line up nicely with the rest of your fabric. So we do have to trim these extra seams off, and you can grab your ruler and your rotary cutter on this, and you'll line a 1/4 inch line up along the sides, line that 1/4 inch line up right along with that stitch that you made, and use that rotary cutter to trim that off. Most of the time when I do this though, I'm actually sitting at the sewing machine, so I don't get my rotary cutter out, I don't get my ruler back out. I just get some scissors and eyeball it. Just make sure you have around a 1/4 inch seam there. And then those will open up nicely, and you'll have something that looks kind of like this. Now when you go to press your seams, it does not matter whether you press your seams to the sides. I have these pressed to the dark side, to the darker fabric, or whether you press your seams open. So at that point, whether you press your seams to the side or whether you press them open is kind of personal preference, or based on what you're needing this for. So on that, you just kind of do whatever you want to do. So that's how you use snowballs for piecing quilts. You see these a lot. It makes a block that maybe looks a little bit more complicated than it really is. Like I said, I didn't cut out tiny triangles. We didn't have to sew bias seams, and we really didn't have to do any math. Easier the better, right? So if this video helped you, go ahead and click the like button and subscribe to my channel. Also in the description below, there's going to be some links for you. If you want to check out my blog, that's going to be linked. If you want to check out my Instagram account, that's going to be linked. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment, and I hope this video helped. Thank you.